I actually fell in love with the type of man Jacob was. This is just the beginning. We know that when God gives somebody a dream in the Bible, it's gonna come true. Basically, he worked for 14 years to get the love of his life. Wow. They're popping out sons. What is going on to all the riders out there? It's your girl B here, and I am back with another video, and I am so excited to bring to you guys another Bible book club video. And as you see from the title down below, we are doing Jacob, none other than Jacob. Yes, the same Jacob who had the 12 sons, the same Jacob who we sing "We Are Climbing Jacob's Ladder," the same Jacob who wrestled with the Lord or Lord's angel, the same Jacob who had to fight for the wife that he wanted Rachel, but then he had Leah, and then he fought for Rachel. Like that same Jacob who was pulling at his brother's heel, the same Jacob who made his brother Esau sell his birthright just for a bowl of soup. Yes, that Jacob. And I was intrigued by him. I didn't expect for me to love his story this much. Like, I heard of Jacob, bits and pieces of his story, growing up in my Christian academy, growing up in my church, growing up in the Pathfinder Club. I heard bits and pieces of Jacob's story. But to read Jacob's story from beginning to end, just smooth read throughout, I actually fell in love with the type of man Jacob was. You know, I understood what he did. Would I have done what he did? Maybe not. You know, I'm not that bold, I'm not that audacious, but I understood his actions. And he's human, and we sometimes let our flesh lead when we should let the Holy Spirit lead us. So I have amazing points to dive into that I feel like need to be mentioned. There's so many more things of Jacob that should be mentioned, but I'm gonna focus on just these. And of course, dive into the beautiful story of Jacob yourself in the book of Genesis. Okay, so let's first begin in Genesis 25 verses 19. Okay, we'll be introduced to Jacob and his twin brother Esau, right? So let's see what happens. In Genesis 25:19, this is the account of the family of Isaac, the son of Abraham. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah, right? So basically, Jacob's father is Isaac and his mother is Rebekah, right? So jump down to verse 21. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on the behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children. The Lord answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins. So we see these twins are going to be Jacob and Esau. But the children struggled with each other in her womb. So she asked the Lord about it. "Why is this happening to me?" she asked. And the Lord told her, "The sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and the older son will serve your younger son." So Rebekah already knows that whoever comes out last, will be the younger son, and the older son will serve the younger son, which is counterculture to what things were happening at this time, because the older son was the one who got the birthright, which was an extra blessing, and a blessing also when the father passes. So let's continue reading. And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she did indeed have twins. The first one was red in birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat, so they named him Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. So we see here that Esau is the firstborn, which makes him the oldest child. And Jacob is the secondborn of the twins, making him the younger child. This is the part where I knew this story is good, is when Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. I was like, what? I couldn't fathom that ever happening. But you know what? Like, things were different back then, so who knows? But this is the part of the story I realized this is gonna be good, right? So just a recap of what a birthright is. I had to do some research. In biblical times, Selling one's birthright had significant cultural and legal implications. The birthright was a special privilege or inheritance granted to the firstborn son, which typically included a double portion of the father's wealth or estate. This inheritance held both material and status value, right? So we see that Esau is about to sell his birthright to Jacob. This is just the beginning. All right, so going down to verse 27. As the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsy man, but Jacob was a quiet temperament, preferred to stay at home. 28. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home. But Rebecca loved Jacob. So we see that both parents have like a favorite. I guess because back then the husband was outside hunting, protecting, doing the outdoorsy things. So he bonded more with Esau. And then the role of the wife back then was inside, cooking, cleaning, nurturing, right? And Jacob loved being inside, so he bonded with his mother more. So one day, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau arrived home from the wilderness, exhausted and hungry. Verse 30. Esau said to Jacob, "I'm starved. Get me some of the red stew." This is how Esau got the other name Edom, which means red. "All right," Jacob replied, "but trade me your rights as a firstborn son." "Look, I'm dying of starvation," Esau said. "What good is my birthright to me right now?" So Esau let some temporary satisfaction, right, bring long-term consequential effects. Because now he's not going to get the double portion of the inheritance granted. And that's going to rip from him materials and status value. All for some stew. Because he had some temporary hunger, starvation that he was saying. So, but Jacob said, "First, you must swear that your birthright is mine." Jacob being persistent, even after seeing his brother is starving of hunger. He's like, "Swear to me." Like Esau's probably like this, "I'm so hungry." And Jacob's like, "Swear to me." So Esau, verse 33. So Esau swore his oath, thereby selling all of his rights as the firstborn to his brother Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew. Esau ate the meal and then got up and left. He showed contempt for his rights as the firstborn. So we now see that Jacob successfully tricked his brother. Not tricked, but like made his brother sell him his birthright. All for some stew. What a off exchange. In this day and age, you bring that to court and say, what an unfair transaction, you know? Maybe it'll still hold up because you did say yes, like you signed on the dotted line. So now we're going to point number 2, Jacob's deception and blessing. So now let's get into the other point of the benefit of being the firstborn. First, you get the birthright, and second, you get an extra blessing when your parent, your father in particular, is passing, right? So we see that Isaac is getting older. In Genesis 27, verse 1, it reads, "One day when Isaac was old and turning blind, he called for Esau, his oldest son, and said, 'My son.' 'Yes, father,' Esau replied. 'I am an old man now,' Isaac said, 'and I don't know when I may die. Take my bow and quiver full of arrows and go out into the open country and hunt some wild game for me. Prepare my favorite dish and bring it here for me to eat. Then I will pronounce a blessing that belongs to you, my firstborn, before I die." Right? This is important. The deception is about to begin, but this is important because 2 things happen here that's super, super, super important. One, we see in 27 verse 1 that Isaac is old and turning blind. His vision is impaired. And 2, he sent Esau out to get some game so that he can then make a bowl of his favorite dish, right? So we see that Esau's going to be gone for some time. So now here enters the deception by Rebecca and Jacob. And this is bound to happen because Rebecca favors Jacob. So she wants Jacob to benefit more than Esau because that's her favorite, right? And God already told her that the younger will be served by the older. So in a way, this is Rebecca just continuing to live out what God already told her. But Rebecca overheard what Isaac had said to her son Esau. Verse 5. So when Esau left to hunt for the wild game, she said to her son Jacob, "Listen, I've overheard your father say to Esau to bring me some wild game and prepare me a delicious meal. Then I will bless you in the Lord's presence before I die. Now, my son, listen to me. Do exactly as I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 fine young goats. I'll use it to prepare your father's favorite dish. Then take the food to your father so he can eat it and bless you before he dies." So Rebecca is being deceitful here because 1, she knows how to cook Isaac's favorite dish. So if Rebecca cooks it, Isaac's gonna be very pleased because, like, as his wife, I'm sure his wife knows how her husband wants the favorite dish to be. And 2, I don't get how she told Jacob to get 2 fine goats, but then Isaac told Esau to get wild game. So that's 2 different meats to begin with. So Isaac should know off rip that this is goat and not game. I don't know. Moving forward. In verse 11, "But look," Jacob replied to Rebekah, "my brother Esau is a hairy man and my skin is smooth. What if my father touches me? He'll see that I am trying to trick him and he'll curse me instead of blessing me." So Jacob, not even on some, "No, I am not going to do that. Esau's my brother. That's wrong. That's deceitful. I'm not going to do that." He's like, "I can't do it because I'm hairy and because Esau's hairy, I'm smooth." That's the wrong reason why you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it because it's wrong, not because you know you'll be figured out. His mother assures him, "Trust me, I got this, son." So Jacob goes out and gets the goat, and when he comes back, Rebecca basically makes the stew, and then she goes a step further and puts on Esau's clothes on Jacob so that Jacob smells like Esau, very outdoorsy, very woodsy, right? In verse 16, she covered his arms and the smooth parts of his neck with the skin of the young goat. Then she gave Jacob a delicious meal, including freshly baked bread, so that Jacob gets blessed, which is supposed to go to Esau, right? Because once a blessing is cast on, you can't reverse it. So all that they need to do is allow Isaac to bless Jacob, and that's it, because it cannot be reversed. So that's done, right? Isaac blesses Jacob successfully, and Esau is furious with Jacob. Once again, understandably so, right? So this begins the rivalry. Not just the birthright, but now taking the blessing really ticked off Esau. So point number 3 I want to mention is Jacob's dream of the ladder. And this point is very important to me. And I didn't realize till way after, because Jacob has a son named Joseph, who we know Joseph is the king of dreams. You know, he was having the dreams and the dreams came true that all his brothers bowed to him. So basically I'm saying that Jacob had a dream similar to how his son Joseph will later have a dream. If you read Genesis 28 verses 12, as he slept, the dream of the stairway that reached up from the earth up to heaven, and he saw the angels of God going up and down the stairway. At the top of the stairway stood the Lord, and he said, "I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you will lie on belongs to you. I am giving it to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust of the earth. You will spread out in all directions, to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. What's more, I am with you and I will protect you wherever you go. One day I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I finish giving you everything I promised." Jacob receives this dream where God is speaking to him that he is going to be with him, and the promise he gave to Abraham and Isaac is going to continue through him. So this is a pivotal point of the story, Jacob receiving this dream, because it is going to come true. We know that when God gives somebody a dream in the Bible, it is going to come true. We see that later on through Jacob's son Joseph as well. So then the next point I want to mention is Jacob and the fight between Leah and Rachel. Oh my gosh, time is going by so fast. Okay, I'm gonna paraphrase. So now Jacob ran off because he had to hide from his brother because his brother was plotting to kill him. So he had to run off. He goes into a land and he's working for this man. And as he's working for this man, he sees that he wants to marry his daughter, Rachel. And the man's name was Laban, right? And he had his beautiful daughter, Rachel, that he fell in love with. But it wasn't easy to just ask for her hand in marriage and then marry her. Laban wanted Jacob to work to get to Rachel. If we go to Genesis 29, verse 16. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The older daughter was named Leah, and the younger one was Rachel. There was no sparkle in Leah's eye. How sad. But Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he told her father, I'll work for you for 7 years if you'll give me Rachel, your youngest daughter, as my wife. Oh yeah, I think back then it was like a thing to always give the firstborn away first before the youngest born. So that's why he couldn't immediately have Rachel, because Rachel was the youngest. But I'm sure he could have just had Leah easily, or more easier. Let me paraphrase the rest, because honestly I can't just read the Bible, because then we'll be here for like 2 hours. Okay, so Jacob is working for Laban to get Rachel. We see that he's so in love that the 7 years seem like a few days. So now it's the wedding day and he's supposed to marry Rachel, and he's at the altar and he lifts Rachel's veil and he sees that it's not Rachel, that it's actually Leah. So the wedding goes through and he marries Leah first. He's so heartbroken because he really wanted Rachel. So then he goes to Laban, even though Laban has already deceived him, he's like, how could you do this to me? You know I wanted Rachel. So then Laban said, work for me for another 7 years and I'll give you Rachel. So then Jacob works for Laban for another 7 years, and then he able to officially marry Rachel. So basically he worked for 14 years to get the love of his life. Wow. What a disciplined and persistent lover boy, right? So now the next point I want to mention is Jacob's children. So now Jacob is having children from Leah, Rachel. They're popping out sons. So we see Leah gets pregnant. It took a while for Rachel to get pregnant, but Rachel gave her servant to Jacob, and Jacob was having children from Rachel's servant until Rachel was able to get pregnant. And then finally, when Rachel was able to give birth, then Rachel gave birth to Joseph. And that's why they call Joseph the miracle child. And that's why Joseph received such special treatment, because Jacob loved Rachel the most. So whoever came out of Rachel's womb, Jacob was going to naturally love that son or daughter more because it came from Rachel, right? And we know the very popular story of of Joseph. So many names, I'm sorry. And all the children are going to be the 7 tribes of Israel. And that's important because the 7 tribes of Israel lives on. So in Genesis 32:22, we see that Jacob wrestles with an angel. So let's just read this really quickly. All right, during the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 servants' wives, and the 11 sons, and crossed the Jabbok River with them. After taking them to the other side, he sent all of his possessions. Then this left Jacob alone in the camp. A man came and wrestled with him until dawn began to break. When the man saw that he would not win the match, he touched Jacob's hip and wrenched it out of its socket. Then the man said, let me go, for the dawn is breaking. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. What is your name? The man asked. He replied, Jacob. Your name will no longer be Jacob, the man told him. From now on, you'll be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won. Please tell me your name, Jacob said. Why do you want to know my name? The man replied. Then he blessed Jacob there. Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God, for he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared. The sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury on his hip. So this is pivotal because so many things happen in this part. One, he wrestled with an angel. He saw God face to face, and he wrestled with this angel. The angel changed his name from Jacob to Israel, and now he's a limping man. All of this happened as a blessing onto Jacob's life. The limping is a blessing. Oftentimes, whenever something happens to us that changes what used to be, we think it's a tragedy. But this limping was a blessing. Every limp was a reminder that I saw God face, that I wrestled with an angel, and that was the turning point of my life from Jacob to Israel. And he's going to have the 12 tribes of Israel from his sons. Everything goes together so beautifully. Okay, we have 2 more points, and then we'll be off the story of Jacob. The second point is Jacob's reconciliation with Esau, which is in Genesis 33, 1 through 11. So I'll have to like jump around, but keep up, please. Okay, so in Genesis 33, then Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and his 2 servants' wives. He put the servant wives and the children in front, Leah and the children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Look at him still protecting Rachel and Joseph, right? Right now they have 11 sons, and then later on they have Benjamin. But right now it's 11. Then Jacob ran on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed to the ground 7 times before him, right? Then Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, and kissed him, and they both wept. So we see that there's reconciliation between the brothers. Esau and Jacob are now at peace. They don't want to harm each other anymore. Really, it was Esau wanted to harm Jacob, understandably so. But I'm sure God put his hand on Esau's heart to remove all that anger that he had towards Jacob, so that Jacob can fulfill the dream that God has given Jacob of blessing him and his descendants. And then for the last and final point, Joseph's story is another pivotal point of Jacob's story, because Joseph is the son of Jacob and Rachel, and they had Joseph and they named him the miracle child. They gave him the coat of many colors. Joseph had the dreams that the moon and the sun and the haze would bow to him, symbolic to his brothers. And this angered the brothers sold him. He became a slave, a servant for the Pharaoh in Egypt. And he saves Egypt from famine that would have killed all of them. And in turn, that allows him to reconcile with his brothers, because his brothers go to Egypt because they had a surplus of food. And that's how they were able to like reconcile, and they hug and they weep, and then they go up and get the father Jacob, who is still alive, but the mother was no longer alive. So Joseph was able to see his father again, and the father died knowing that Joseph was still alive, and was able to have some time with Joseph before he died. Anyways, the beautiful story of Jacob is so like riveting, suspenseful, drama-filled, has romance, twists and turns, unpredictable endings, plot twist. I absolutely love it. Did you guys love it? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm also thinking of putting these videos as a podcast format so that we can really dive in thoroughly. Let me know. And yeah. Anyways, I love you, Victory Riders. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys were blessed, inspired, motivated to read the beautiful story of Jacob yourself and see everything that he had to go through, that he did, that happened to him. It's beautiful. I know you guys will enjoy it. Just take a moment in Genesis, okay? Genesis 25:19 begins the story of Jacob. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy. You know I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.